Okay, hello and welcome to the final part of our retrospective on the Star Wars series, and this one is going to be the Rise of Skywalker, which is the final film in the Disney trilogy. Um, so before I get to my thoughts, I want to pass it around to Justin and then Michael, and then we'll come back to me at some point. So take it away, Justin.
All right. So this film was the final of the Skywalker saga, so they say. We shall see if more arise, but as of now, this is the finale of basically Star Wars. Um, this film it left me it left me in a state where I can be happy with the resolution. I wasn't particularly disappointed with anything, and I found this film to be fun and a decent resolution. I mean, is it really what I wanted it to be? Not necessarily, but what I got is I accept what I have. What I got from this film,
Yeah,
and it left me satisfied. Like I wouldn't say I felt strongly either way about it. It's not my favorite movie, but it's not my least favorite movie, and it had a lot of good aspects to it that I enjoyed. Some that I could get over, but nothing that I particularly hated.
yeah. What are your thoughts, Michael?
I feel pretty much exactly the same. I feel like it's a good conclusion to the trilogy. Let's see. There are some aspects, particularly Kylo. I wish it had gone a different direction. I'm fine with how he ended up, but it's a movie. I would say it's definitely good, and for reference, I kind of feel kind of in Revenge of the Sith territory for me. I'm not sure if it's above it yet because it's fairly new. It's been out half a year now, but I would say it lands kind of Revenge of the Sith. It's pretty good territory.
Yeah. Now that we're at the final film, I feel like I can finally talk about this whole, saga in general. So I'm just gonna give my thoughts on the Disney trilogy overall. So the way I've always felt like about the series, I feel like this felt like a tug of war between two different ideas about where the series should go. You know, like one guy wants the series to go in this direction, and then the other one wants to go in that direction. And then JJ comes back in this one, and he just pulls the rug out of under Ryan Johnson. And Ryan Johnson did the same thing to him in the last movie, so it kind of feels like they were battling each other in some kind of way. Um, I'm not going to say like this has just been a hit or miss series for me, honestly. I could take it or leave it, but I think this was a pretty good entry for me. I'm not going to say that it's better or worse than Last Jedi because a lot of people seem pretty mixed. This one had to make amends for a lot of things that happened in Last Jedi. Um, like one thing that I'm really glad they did was they just got rid of Rose right off the bat. Like I felt like when Finn was like, "Okay, pat you on the back, see you later," that was like what JJ was basically saying to to Rose. Like he's like, "You weren't my character. Bye." That's what I kind of felt like with that. Um, but this was a fine film for what it is. I don't like that they brought back the Emperor, but it's what it is. It kind of undercuts the sentiment from Return of the Jedi, but like I said, if you fall down a chasm, you're not dead.
I had the best way I describe this film. I don't want to, for a lack of a better term, I'd say lazy is what the film is with the ideas that they brought in and the answers that they gave us. I felt like weren't the original plans for this film, but they kind of just backed up and went to like default, like, okay, let's bring Palpatine back. Let's make Rey a Palpatine. Let's, you know, they answered the questions we had in such, in my opinion, lazy ways. Like, who was Snoke? oh, it's just some thing I created because I'm Palpatine and I'm all powerful, and I created this clone thing,
Yeah.
and I acted upon it through that. And it's just like, why even introduce that character? You know what I mean? Like a lot of it was lazy, and a lot of it was trying to retcon from the previous film, and really struggled because of that, in my opinion.
Well, I feel like if JJ had directed the last film, or even if he had given Ryan Johnson or whoever was else to come in, um, they probably would have been more respectful of those plans, and they probably would have had a more refined idea of who Snoke is, and probably the execution would have been smoother if someone wanted to go in that direction. But
Yeah,
you
I
know,
agree.
because that's what happened in the original trilogy. In the original trilogy, it was kind of a happy accident. People were kind of accommodating to George Lucas, and they stayed with his vision. Not exactly to his vision, but everything seemed to line up and work out. Like there
Yeah.
was a setup in each film and a payoff in the next one.
Mhm.
In in Force Awakens, we had like a ton of setups, like a ton of mystery boxes, as J.J. Abrams likes to call them, and the payoffs in the Last Jedi just weren't very satisfying, or at least they didn't complement the setups in the last film. Um,
Yeah.
so what was set up in Last Jedi, there's not many setups. In fact, we were kind of left on a note on the Millennium Falcon where we're like, okay, what are we gonna do in the next movie? So
Yeah.
it was just kind of like,
Yeah, I think that's where this film kind of suffered from. There was no direction. They kind of just had to create something out of the blue, which is why in the beginning of this film it seems so rushed, and so like a lot of stuff is happening in like the first 10 minutes of this film, and you're just kind of thrown everywhere. Like Kylo grabs the I think it was like some holocron or some, it was the compass thing to help him
yeah, to
lead
get
him
the
to
Exegol.
Palpatine. Yeah, to Exegol. So
Yeah,
he goes to Exegol and he meets Palpatine, and then all of a sudden he's like, "All right, I'll help you, I guess." And just a lot of things are happening in the beginning of this film, and you're kind of confused. It's like, whoa, 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 slow down here. You know what I mean? They had a lot to recover from, and a lot to tell us in a short amount of time.
yeah. But I did like the pacing in this one. I did like the speed that they're going at. Like maybe it was a little too fast for a final film, but I feel like a final film has to be high energy, so I feel like this all kind of made sense. As far as like what they could do, because not a lot was set up. Like the thing is, what we saw in theaters was basically a theatrical cut. There's going to be a director's cut eventually, which usually there's never a director's cut in Star Wars ever. But I think we might actually get a George Lucas cut, and that's just because there was a whole character cut out of the movie, Sam Smith, like from Doctor Who or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was a major character, and they cut him out of the whole cut of the movie. So um, I'm kind of curious to see what they may have shot that we didn't get to see.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be an alternate cut. There are a lot of ideas that they had that would have been cool to see, like in retrospect. But what we got is what we got. Like, there's no reason to gripe on. Oh, it could have been this. It could have been that. Because in the end, it's not gonna change what we have. And like I said, I was fine with it. Like, it's not the ideal. You know,
Yeah,
it's not everything. Everything didn't line up of how I wanted it to go. But in the end, it's not. It's not a movie just for me. So
yeah. I just got a comment. Uh, this may be just a side note, but I feel like Michael can't talk right now. So should we start a new one or what? Because he can't say a word.
oh, did he cut out?
No, look at him talk. He can't say anything.
Hello?
Okay.
Can
Oh,
you,
there
There
we
he
go.
goes.
There we go.
I
Oh,
don't know
he
what
fixed
happened.
it.
Okay, well, good. We got you back. What was the last thing you just said, Justin?
I was just saying that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there was a lot of direction in which they could have gone with the film, like a lot of different ideas of what they wanted to do in the film, and then as of recently, people have gotten grasp of what the original plan was, and they're
Yeah.
seeing all the concept art for what could have been. And I was just saying, like, what we got is what we got, and there's no real need to write.
Yeah.
There's no need to gripe about what could have been.
Yeah. I'll say in overall quality, these films, as far as like stuff that happens and stuff it does with the lore and stuff, maybe that kind of drops it down a level. But I feel like as far as quality goes, like visual effects and stuff, it's not going to feel as dated as the prequels did. You know, like when we watch the
No.
prequels and those effects, those are pretty dated at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like quality in those prequels films, like especially Attack of the Clones, like I did go back and rewatch it and I've rethought my thoughts. It is pretty crappy,
Trash.
but like I feel like these are going to age a little bit better than the prequels did. You
And
know,
they use a bit more practical effects than the prequels too.
Well,
So that helps.
one thing we have to say about the prequels is at least it was a clearly defined vision all the way through. Like it was George Lucas's vision all the way through. Love it or hate
That's
it.
fair.
At least it was one director coming in on each sequel and making sure this is what I want and this is what we're going to do.
I
that's
do
the
want to say
issue.
one thing. So I was
Go ahead,
muted,
Michael.
and I wanted to. In the first movie, you talk about J.J. Abrams, how the beginning of the movie, you're thrown into it, and you're kind of not overwhelmed. For this one, I had the complete opposite. Jared, you were talking about the pacing. I thought it was way off in like the first like half hour,
Mhm.
just because I don't really read up too much about these kind of movies. So I heard kind of something about the Emperor, but I didn't know he was back. So they're just like, boom, he's back, and it's just jumping all over the place. And I'm still trying to get over the fact he's back. I don't know. It was a little too overwhelming for me for like solid 20, 30 minutes.
No, I felt overwhelmed too, but you know, on a rewatch after seeing the movie a couple times, because I've seen this movie probably 4 times just to get my actual thoughts on it. Like
Mhm.
Force Awakens, I only saw maybe about 2 weeks ago to get a refresher on it, and I saw it 3 times in the theater. I kind of feel like I'm okay with the pacing of this movie. I feel like if
It
you're
gets
gonna,
better, yeah.
it has to be as fast as it is because they have to pay off. They have to
There's a
you know,
lot they have to unpack.
yeah, they have to do a lot of the things that they weren't able to do in the last film because they wasted time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like especially in the beginning though, it's a little too much.
That's why I'm saying like the last film was more like a Star Wars story and less of a
Yeah, maybe they should have went with
trilogy.
that title. Have
It's
Last
less
Jedi,
of
the
a
Star Wars story.
it's less of a trilogy. I feel like it could have been another medium, and then this film could have been broken down into 2 different films, and they could have
Yeah.
explored a lot more.
Those could have been like Clone Wars episodes. You know how the Clone Wars is, how that's set up. I feel like they could have done it as an animated show because they already have Star Wars Resistance coming out, right? It's like an animated show.
I think it
Yeah, it
ended
already
or something.
They could have aired that type of storyline with the animated show. It didn't have to be its own movie. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the Canto Bite thing, that feels like something that would have been in a TV show rather than.
It's a filler episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One other thing I had, it kind of bothered me a little bit, is the whole like the three of Ray, Finn, and Poe. They just argued the whole time. Like they weren't
Yeah.
really friends. You know what I mean? They were
Yeah.
just like bickering all the time. It's like, geez, man, are you guys even friends? Like, what's going on here? It's another thing that was kind of like off-putting to me. But yeah, it was interesting. One thing I did like though is the introduction of so many different characters. I liked almost every new character that they introduced, which was pretty shocking. And even
Yeah.
some old characters that came back. I was happy to see Billy D. Williams come back as Lando, and he did a good job. I feel like they could have used him a little more than they did, but
Yeah.
it's fine. I liked, was it Dio, the droid?
Yeah, Dio.
Uh, I liked him a lot.
I don't even remember him.
He's Conehead, like a little cone droid.
Oh yeah, that was a whatever character for me. I mean, he was funny
Actually,
because he was
I
like
I
the
liked
timid
him.
dog or something.
He's like, no, thank you, no, thank you.
Yeah, he was like a beaten droid, and he was all traumatized.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I liked the whole dynamic between Poe and what was her name? I forgot her name.
It's like
Carrie Russell's
Zora or
character.
something.
Zara. What Zara?
It's
I forget
starts
her
with a
name.
Z.
I
It's
forget her
like
name,
Zora,
but
I
I know
think.
it's Carrie Russell that plays her.
Yeah.
Zoran, Zorro, Legend of Zorro.
You can tell there was probably more to her scenes. Like there was probably more engagement with that character. There probably exists like a cutout there
Zori
where
Bliss.
there
That's
was
Zori.
what
something
her
to her.
Zori Bliss. That was her name. Yeah, she was cool. I liked her a lot, and the whole dynamic that they had a pass together, somewhat romantic. Their romance made a lot of sense in that film, and I don't even know a thing about the two characters. But what didn't make sense to me was Rey and Kylo, their thing.
Yeah,
I don't understand how. I just don't. I can't explain it in any sense of the way of how they. Why? Like why? I don't get it. It just bothered me that they kissed. I don't know. I feel like it would have been a little better if like she just kissed his forehead or something. It's like I don't feel like it should have been. It should have been
Yeah, I don't. The
a
relationship
romance
between
thing.
them works, yeah, but the romance is kind of
if I'm gonna
forced
take a
into that.
guess, I'm gonna guess that when JJ was writing the script for this, what happened was he felt that in the first film he was setting up a romance between between Finn
Kylo and
and
Finn.
Finn and Ray, and then in this one or in the Last Jedi there was more of a romance type of thing going on with, or at least hints to a romance in Last Jedi between Kylo and Ray. So I guess he
Yeah,
was
but I
kind of
don't
like,
think.
let's pay
I
that
don't
off.
know.
That's all I can do because we didn't get any development with Finn in the last movie with that romance. So what can I do at this point?
I
Don't
understand
forget
it.
Babu
It's just
Frig.
Yeah, Babu.
yeah, he was great too. He was a funny character. Um, let's see who else.
But don't forget Lando's daughter in this movie.
That's
Is
what
that
they
confirmed?
say. I don't.
She's
That's
basically Finn's love interest in this movie.
that is true. I'm glad Finn got somebody, and it made sense. It made a little more sense that he'd fall in love with her.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't actually pay it off or in
They
any
didn't.
way, but
They had a chemistry though. Like they didn't
it's
need to show it.
suggested.
I felt it. Yeah. It's
It's
also
suggested.
suggested that she's Lando's daughter, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's not confirmed. I don't.
People read that as him hitting on her or something, and I was like so confused about
I don't
that
know
on the
where
internet. Like I
anybody
was
would have
like,
got that.
Yeah, I don't think.
who thinks that?
Also, let's talk about General Hux in this film. Pretty
Yeah.
interesting. That's not the way I wanted to see him go. I actually enjoyed his character.
I like when he goes, "I am the spy."
It made sense. It made sense. I understand his motivation was there. His development of that character made sense that he hated Kylo. But I hated to see him go like he did, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought this movie would have done him a little better because, JJ was in charge of the first one. He's in charge of this one.
Yeah.
But, no.
I would have also liked to see some sort of redemption for Captain Phasma. Maybe she lived again and then did something cool. But
Yeah, but
No,
she didn't
instead
fall
we
down a
get the
chasm. She
equally
fell into
useless.
fire.
We get the equally useless, underused Knights of Ren.
this is
Who
true.
just
They're just
show up.
replaced.
Yeah.
She's replaced with the Knights of Ren, who just no backstory on them. That's cool. And then
That was going to be
You
paid
get
off.
teased it.
That was going to be paid off if
And then-
JJ had directed Last Jedi.
Yeah,
I promise
mean,
you that's what would have
No,
happened.
100%, 100%. All the things that we're mentioning is all retcon or trying to fix things that happened, and it could have ended a lot differently. But it is what we got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We we finally get to see the Knights of Ren. Of course, Kylo has to cut him down at the end, but
Which is a cool scene, but that's
they were
all they
cool.
do.
They looked cool. They served
That's
their
just all they
purpose in
do.
the story, but I wish they would have had a little more of a role.
They look cool on a mountain, and then they get cut down. That's about it.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that force transference thing that they did in the movie where it's like you can transfer matter through the force? Like, did you guys like that? Or
I mean, Baby Yoda
Yes.
kind of did it in The Mandalorian in a way. I think, right?
I
What
don't
did he
know.
do?
I,
You talking
He-
about the
he-
I can't
healing?
remember.
Yeah, the healing.
Oh, he's talking. Jared's talking about like physical objects.
Yeah, remember takes it
The
behind the
mask.
back, the
what?
lightsaber.
Yeah, the
Oh,
lightsaber, and at one point Vader
yeah.
getting
I didn't.
smacked,
I
and
didn't
like they
mind
like
that.
almost teleport.
I
It's because of
think
their
it's
whole
weird, but I don't
dyad
really
thing. It
mind.
was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird, but like whatever, I can get past it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not unacceptable, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last movie, he gets some water on his face or glove or something.
Yeah.
It fits for what they set up, I think. It works in the way they use it.
Yeah. Didn't one of you have a problem with Ray's lightsaber? I can't remember
I
if
was
that
gonna
was
get to
Justin
that.
or
That was Michael.
This movie gets many points. That's the worst thing done in any Star Wars movie. It's the worst thing.
a
Worse than
yellow
Jar
colored
Jar.
lightsaber is the biggest
Worst.
thing.
Yeah, it gets multiple points taken off this movie.
Well, you just hate
It's
yellow. I
disgusting.
feel like. You just hate yellow.
I'm fine with yellow. It's just it shouldn't be the lightsaber.
I think you're being a little too hard on it. It's just a
No.
yellow colored
What-
lightsaber.
When I saw that movie and when I saw her ignite it, I went, ew. Like I was just so I out loud had a negative reaction. It was so disgusting to me. I could not believe it.
Honestly, I had no problem with that. I had absolutely no problem with that. And from what I can tell, the lightsaber can actually change multiple colors.
It better.
If you rewatch it, it shows like in her hilt, it showed like almost a rainbow of colors it could change to.
Oh, that would be cool.
You should rewatch it because if you look on the hilt, it shows like a rainbow of colors, and then the yellow is the one that comes out. But
Yeah.
and if you also notice, that hilt is her old staff.
Yeah, it's like
So she made her own lightsaber, which is like a pivotal moment in someone, transitioning from a learner to a knight.
yeah.
So she kind of did her own thing, and it was fitting that she was on Tatooine. I really didn't have an issue with her being like, I'm Rey Skywalker or whatever. Like, I don't really care. She was
It
almost
came
like
off as- yeah.
honestly, she was almost like an adopted daughter to Carrie Fisher or to Leia. So it was almost like, okay, whatever. And she trained with Luke, and it's like it was fitting. It wasn't the rise of Skywalker I was hoping for. I was hoping it would be like Kylo Ren. I would have liked to see him live, but
Well, he redeemed himself. Like this was
he did.
maybe
He
the
redeemed
redemption
himself.
of him.
He got redemption, and it was kind of like a Vader moment where he redeemed himself and then dies. But
He falls in a hole at one point. He comes back, Kylo.
yeah. But he sacrifices himself to save, Rey. So I had no problem with that too. I think that ending was a nice resolution for me personally.
Yeah, it was cathartic, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's see.
Now, I'm trying to think of what to say for this last part.
I guess we can talk a little bit about Palpatine.
Yeah, okay. I thought, I was I had mixed feelings when I first heard the announcement trailer, like when you saw like everyone reacting to hearing Palpatine's voice in the trailer. I had mixed feelings about it. I feel like this was both a good thing and a bad thing because it automatically says to the fans that they're out of ideas. So they're just like, let's bring back the Emperor. But it also says to me that, they're trying to connect it back to the original trilogy in some kind of way and pay more homage to that. So I think they're trying to like, it was kind of nostalgic kind of baiting, you know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think he was. They didn't explain it as well as I wanted them to, but I mean, through expanded lore, you know that okay, he's a clone. He's got the essence of Palpatine, and that he's weakened, and then he absorbs their life force and regains full strength or whatever. Um,
yeah, and
it makes
maybe
sense. It makes sense. It's not something like you're like, oh my gosh, why the heck? Like I understand. Like they could have like used some other explanation of why he's there. They could have expanded on this whole exegol place, like, but they didn't have enough time to do that.
yeah,
So that's why they kind of just put it in front of you and let you take it in. That's what expanded lore stuff's gonna help fill in
Yeah.
the gaps, which is unfortunate, but like that's just with a universe this expansive and this much in it, you can't tell the whole story. You know what I mean?
but I have to say, like, if you've noticed in these in the whole series, there's been 9 films. So to cap off the series, it kind of makes sense that in in the first trilogy, it deals with the fall of the Republic and the Emperor being a big part of that. And then we see him again in the final or in the original trilogy, and then we see him in this one again for the final episode of this whole saga. So
It
it's
makes
kind of
sense.
makes sense for him to come back for this one, but it also kind of undercuts the ending of Return of the Jedi by having him come back to life. But
Oh, yeah.
it's plays into what I said. If you fall down a chasm, not fire, like Phasma's
Exactly.
dead because she fell into fire. So if you
Exactly.
fall down a chasm, you're alive.
Yep.
So this
99%
all
of
plays
the
into
time.
that.
I don't have a problem with him coming back. I mean, in a way, he came back in the old books too. I think through clones. I didn't really read them. So anyone who says, they ruined it by bringing him back, he was already back. So this just kind of does the same thing. They did it in an overwhelming way where I didn't pay attention to anything. It's like, boom, he's back. And the explanation, they're on that one jungle planet. The one guy says, oh, cloning and stuff like this, secrets Sith knew about. And you're just like, well, that doesn't really tell me anything. But I think the character, it's the Emperor, as you remember him, Ian McDermott. He does a great job. It sounds like him, unlike some parts of Revenge of the Sith, where he turns into a frog. And yeah, he's. I think it, it- you know, I can look past him at. I wanted this movie, Supreme Leader Kylo. I didn't necessarily want him to. What is it? Redeem himself.
Yeah,
I'm fine with how they handled it. I wanted Kylo to be the main bad guy, but I'm okay with what they did.
yeah. I mean, overall, this has just been a hit or miss series for me. Like, there's been a lot of ups and downs in these movies. Like, um, the first one was a big win for me. I felt like that was a good one, like very strong right out of the gate. Now, this Last Jedi, that kind of backpedal a little bit with story elements and even it's just the characters. Like I didn't feel like they progressed enough. And then in this one, it's undercut because JJ wants to fix things that, or at least add on to things that he set up in his last film. So it just felt like we didn't get the series that we were supposed to get. You know, that's just what I feel like.
Yeah, that's understandable for sure. I just like I said before, it's like it is what it is. You can't change it. You know what I mean? And what we got is it's satisfying. Like it concludes in a way where I'm not totally devastated, on how everything turned out. So
Yeah, Disney's not ruined. I mean, Star Wars isn't ruined like some people say. It's still
and you
good.
know what? We've talked about this before. People are gonna look
Yes.
back on these films. They're gonna change their opinions and say, okay, these weren't as bad as we thought. It happened with the prequels. it's gonna happen with this too. Like it's not like these are not the worst Star Wars films ever. You know what I mean? Like this trilogy had a lot to offer, and I think there were a lot of really cool aspects of it.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. People are gonna change their minds. You know, back when the prequels came out, people literally they hated them. They were awful to most
Yeah.
viewers. You know, we grew up with them, and you know, they're some of our favorites. They're good. They added a lot of lore to the universe, and they expanded upon what we already knew, and they expanded upon new aspects. And this is the same effect that's about to happen with this one. You know, the kids that grew up with these films they're gonna be the films they connect to the most. So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see it 20 years from now. And we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what the future of Star Wars holds, because the Skywalker saga is claimed to be over. Yeah, I don't believe that for a minute, because
Maybe for now, but like they're definitely.
yeah, I mean, they say it's the conclusion, but I'm sure they'll expand on something or
There's too much money.
But yeah, I mean, even if they go off and just start doing Star Wars story films, like expanding on Solo, or just introducing something totally new with the High Republic stuff, I mean, Star Wars isn't over. There's going to be plenty of Star Wars for everyone to enjoy, no matter if you're an original trilogy fanboy, a prequel fanboy, a sequel fanboy. There's going to be everything. There's going to be something for everyone. And
Yeah.
I don't know, that's what's just so cool about it. I don't think the Star Wars community is very toxic when
Yeah.
it comes to these kind of things. And I don't know, I'm just in that boat where it's Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, so I like this too. There's some I like more than others, and we might talk about how much we criticize these movies, about certain aspects that we didn't enjoy, but that doesn't mean other people didn't enjoy them. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. And I'm gonna love Star Wars no matter what. Like, if one Star Wars film is my least favorite film, that doesn't mean I don't I absolutely hate it. It's Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, so I'm gonna like it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I just think that everyone needs to come together and just love it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
And in time there'll be a rallying moment where everyone's just going to come together and say, or maybe I shouldn't say that. Star Wars has different types of fans, like you said. So maybe not everyone's going to come to a consensus on it, but I feel like in time the wounds are going to heal and people will actually be okay with it, because I mean, prequels have had enough time where there's all this extended lore and comic books, TV shows, and stuff, where it's almost ironed out all the kinks and all the problems with those movies. So to the degree where you can watch those movies now and you can be like, oh, okay, that's not a problem anymore. So that's what I feel like is going to happen with this trilogy. Like, maybe there's certain like plot elements that were dropped in this Rise of Skywalker that's going to mess up Last Jedi fans or hurt the fans that are fans of Last Jedi, like Michael. But honestly, I think in time, people can iron out these kinks.
I don't think they did anything about The Last Jedi, like ignoring kind of your parents were nobody or Snoke or whatever. Some people say this movie took a big shit on The Last Jedi. I don't feel that way. I don't hate this movie. I like both of them. I don't have a problem with anything they might have retconned out of Last Jedi or referenced Last Jedi about.
I think he did it in a respectable manner.
Yeah.
Just trying to mold it to where it can be this hybrid of his vision, but also like keep it in the continuity of like the story that's already happened. So I think he did it in the most respectable manner he could. It just wasn't like his final vision of what JJ wanted. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to share your overall thoughts on this, on the Skywalker saga, or do you feel like we already kind of said it all?
I'll give my closing thoughts on this film in particular. Um, so I kind of said it in the beginning, but I think this was a nice resolution to this trilogy. You know, it had some moments where I was a little confused about certain things that were happening, but I mean, in the end, I was satisfied with like what happened. And out of 10, I'd give this film like a solid. I'm gonna say 7.5.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that pretty much. I'll give it probably, out of enjoyment, I would give it a solid C plus. I thought it was okay for what they could have done. Um, the thing is, they just had so much groundwork to make up that it just made it hard for this final film to conclude things. Um, I'm not saying it should have been a layup for this final film. It shouldn't have been as easy as it was, but I think they did fine for what they had to do. And in time, I think people will get used to it.
Yep. Yeah. For me, I've kind of been higher on this trilogy than both of you, so I said it's kind of on par with Revenge of the Sith. I forget what I gave that. It's like a B plus, kind of that territory. Could be an A, but that yellow lightsaber. No, I'm kidding. But that'll knock off like a point. So maybe like 8.7. I'll give it an 8.6, 8.5.
I'm surprised you can give it a C minus. I mean,
Oh,
you love Last Jedi, and it undercuts it at almost every level. So
I don't feel that way. I don't feel like anything it does to undercut The Last Jedi, I feel like it does an attempt to make this movie better than to purposefully go out of its way to shit on that movie, Like they're like, how can we make this movie better or more interesting? Like, we don't want Rey's parents to be nobodies. Let's say they were nobody in a way, but they're related to Palpatine or something. I don't know. I don't think it shits on Last Jedi.
yeah. Overall, I thought this was a decent entry to the series, and
It's a solid finale, yeah.
this is not the ideal conclusion to the Skywalker saga, but it's it's a satisfying enough ending, as good as it could be at this point.
hmm
Yeah.
Sad for Chewie. All his friends are gone. All of them.
Yeah,
Man, that walking carpet can live a long time. I'll tell you that.
yeah.
He'll be in the next trilogy.
Well, all right, guys. So I'll just conclude this thing. Thank you to anyone who has been following these reviews and watching them all the way through to their conclusion. And it's been a long road, but we finally have gotten to the end. So thank you for joining us for these 9 reviews. Hope to see you again in whatever we choose to do in the future. All right. See ya.